I am Dan Cox, and this is your MMA update. Aldo McGregor, UFC 189 International Fight Week. This fight has been pumped like no other fight in UFC history. The dollar amount is staggering. You know, I'm joined by my partner as always, Bomb. Bomb, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. What do you think about this? This was crazy. When I was first, going through the news yesterday, and I seen the very first report, and they were saying a fractured rib. And we both know, getting rib injuries, I know I have, and I've had just cartilage injuries that lasted for months. It was a long time to heal from that. I don't see any way the guy's going to fight. I mean, what did you think when you heard this?
The first thing that came to my mind was, are you kidding me? Another injury, another card. What's going to happen? Because not only did the whole Aldo thing come out about being injured, Brandon Thatch also is not going to be on the card, so they're saying. So now it's kind of, the card's a mess. The only solid fight that you really have on the card right now is Lawler and Rory. So that's the only thing you got going on for this card right now. So I'm looking at it. They got to do something to save this card. So what are they going to do? They already have John Howard fighting Pendrick. I'm not a fan. I don't get me wrong. I love Pendrick. I love his story. I'm not that big of a fan of the way he fights. So for him to come in and fight John Howard, it's not going to make the card any better. What they need to do on this card is they need to have Frankie Edgar step in for Aldo. If Aldo can't go on with this fight, that's who needs to come in. Listen, Chad Mendes already had his shot. I understand Frankie did too, but Chad Mendes just most recently fought for it. So it's only fair. Frankie Edgar's cleaned everybody out again, besides the champ.
Yep.
So why not have McGregor and Edgar go at it?
Well, listen, Bob, and that obviously to me that's the fight, but I don't believe the UFC is going to let that happen. This is a fight that they wanted to see, in my opinion, Conor McGregor take this title, and they pushed him hard. They brought his whole training camp to Vegas, where they stayed at luxurious, just had everything possible to train and to the doctors and all this stuff. I really think they had all their eggs in this basket. They did a lot of promoting. I heard you mention a figure of like $1 million on just promotion alone. I guess my thing about this is when you get an injury this close to the fight like that, is there a line where these fighters need to be backing off a little bit? I don't know how the injury happened. I don't know if it was from a kick, a strike, a knee. I don't know what type of how he did it. He could have done it wrestling, for God's sakes, for all I know. But it really does. There's so much on the line. You would think that the UFC and the fighters both would really be taking care to make sure that they can pull this off. They're still running that commercial with those two guys in front of the MGM and coming and facing up. This is a huge blow to the UFC financially and with the fans. It just happens all the time. I'll say this. If I hear the word interim, because Aldo can't fight, I will literally throw up on air, beyond a doubt.
Yeah, I don't want an interim champ. Let the guy hold on to his title. He legitimately got hurt. Let him hold on to the title. Let the next two best guys fight for the number one contender spot. And you know what? Hey, if it's not McGregor, it's not McGregor. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. I know they got a ton of money invested into this guy. Those figures that I read were like $1 million in advertising. Don't forget, they had stunt doubles and everything running around Vegas. So they put some money in this. Yeah. They had his entourage flown over. He was walking around Vegas with them. He was going to, all kinds of presses for the fight, and his whole entourage was there. You got to understand the money that they sunk into this. This was going to be their most profitable fight of the year. That's what they were banking on. Now the card's kind of falling apart. So how do you salvage it? You salvage it by giving the fans the next best thing, and the next best thing, logically, is Edgar McGregor or Mendes McGregor.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it should be Edgar because he just got done basically dick crashing Cub Swanson, and Mendes lost to Aldo again.
And not just that, Bob. Yeah, I mean, Frankie finally, the nice, quiet, respectful Frankie finally made a stand and said, I want the next shot. I want a title shot after this. I will go to the UFC headquarters with all my people and petition until we get that fight. And so I think that from a fan's perspective, that's the fight that makes sense. I don't want to see Mendes get in there again. Like you said, he had 2 shots against Aldo. The last fight was an awesome fight. It was a war, great fight. But look at Frankie. This man needs some respect, for God's sake. Look what he's doing. He has grown leaps and bounds since he fought Aldo the last time. And I think challenging McGregor with a wrestler, and you got to know he's been training for stand-up this whole time. Now you throw a wrestler at him. Listen, I don't think it's going to look good for him. I mean, Frankie takes a punch. He doesn't get knocked out easily. I've never seen him knocked out, as a matter of fact. And listen, McGregor's a big man. He's big to cut down to that weight. But Frankie was a 155 champ. So let's not forget that. And I think that Frankie Edgar is a man that will not only test McGregor, I think his mental strength is the key in that fight. His talent, he's busy, he's fast, his movement. I think Edgar wins that fight.
Yeah, I think Edgar wins the fight as well. And I also had Aldo. I took Aldo. You know, that's why I was leaning towards in the fight with McGregor and Aldo. I just thought Aldo, you know, has fought the better opposition, way more experience, just a tougher guy. And I'm not taking anything away from McGregor because McGregor's a beast. But McGregor needs to, in my opinion, he needs to face some more, you know, formidable opposition before he gets that recognition of being, you know, a top guy. I mean, don't forget, he's only fought basically Dustin Poirier as a top 10 guy. You know, so the Dennis Siver thing to me was a joke. That was here, we're going to throw you this fight. And you're going to beat him, and we're going to try to buffalo everybody into thinking, you know, because of this fight, you deserve a title shot. You know, you can't leap over. I mean, you can't beat Dennis Siver and leap over, you know, Mendes, Edgar, a couple other guys in front of you. You can't do it.
Wow.
So it's not fair to those guys that have been calling themselves for as long as Mendes and Edgar has to be able to go over them and get a title shot before either one of them gets a third or a second or whatever.
Well, I get that it's business, and I understand the UFC didn't want Conor to lose. They wanted to see him fight for the title. They'd like to see him win, in my opinion, and they'd like to see a rematch over in Ireland. And when did Dennis Siver ever become the gatekeeper to the title? That to me was ludicrous. That's the most thing. That's the one thing that really upset me. It wasn't the fact that he fought Dennis Siver. No disrespect to Dennis Siver at all. But that man has not landed his spinning back kick to the liver since like '09 or something. He's dropped weight. He's tried everything. He's not been able to be successful. I was disappointed. I knew why it happened. But now, with this happening, there's no choice. There has to be a big opponent for this fight. This has been billed as the biggest pay-per-view possibly in UFC history. So how can you not put in a number 2 guy or a number 3 guy in there to fight the number 1 guy?
Yeah, I agree. And not only that, you know, don't take what I'm saying wrong. I like it. I like McGregor. McGregor's great all around. I mean, he's a beast in the ring. And his promotional thing is phenomenal. I haven't seen anybody, you know, with the exception of, like I said before, maybe Howard Stern, you know, saying the things that he says and people dying to see more and salivating to see what comes out of his mouth next. He's a promotional genius. And that's, you look at his background, how he grew up so rough, had a bad life, basically fighting for food or whatever. There's a guy right there who's turned everything around, absolutely righted his ship in life. And does he deserve a title shot? Yeah, Rand, no, he does. But I just want to see him fight a couple more top-notch guys before he gets that shot. Yeah. And once he does fight those top-notch guys and beats them, then obviously he deserves a shot. And if he wins a title at that point, then, hats off to him. He's going to be a great champion once he does win a title. Because, like I said, he's going to promote that to the fullest extent. Oh, yeah. He's that type of a character. He's going to keep everybody in tuned. He's going to keep everybody entertained. Yeah. It's going to be a good career for McGregor. And Bob, it just needs to happen when it happens.
I'll tell you something, Bob. I think that McGregor is the best promoter because I think it's genuine. The guy is on all the time. McGregor is going to sell out wherever he fights, regardless. The man he's an incredible talent. I've learned a lot about him lately, and it's extremely impressive. I mean, he went from government assistance to, boom, UFC stardom. And, congrats to him for that. I have a new respect for McGregor, I have to say. And I could leave it down to this. I agree, Bob. We need to see Edgar in there. Honestly, I'm very doubtful that we'll see Edgar in there. I think the UFC might come up with somebody that's a little softer, that's in the top 5, but not as dangerous as an Aldo, and not as dangerous as a Mendes or Frankie. I hope not, but I think that's something that might happen, and I'll be really disappointed. There's a lot of things going on in the UFC right now, from the Reebok deal to the new drug testing, to injuries, which are just killing them. And that's why I say no interim. Please take that word out of the vocabulary. Don't do it. Nobody wants it. Any last thoughts on there, Bob?
Yeah, I do want to touch on one other thing. Not to change the subject, but you mentioned politics. That's another thing in this sport that, as fans, we really all need to, stand together on the politics of the sport. How they have guys like Andrei Arlovsky that come back into the UFC after, a lackluster career. And, the chin made of glass. He comes back into the UFC. He has a couple of fights, and all of a sudden, he's ranked number 4. Number 4. Yeah. How the hell does that happen? I just don't understand.
Because, Bob, listen,
you got a guy like Ben Rockwell, who I love and you love and the fans love. The guy's a great guy. The guy's a tough dude. He gives it his all. His fights are always exciting. There's always a knockout. There's always some crazy stuff going on in his fights. And you want to know what? That guy's ranked number 8. Yeah. I don't understand it. They fought the same exact guys. Ben Rockwell's beaten a couple other guys that Arlovsky hasn't fought, and Arlovsky jumps 4 spots ahead of him. I just don't get it. I don't understand the rankings. And like you said, it's all politics. And as fans, if we don't speak up and say who we want to see fight who, then it's always going to be this way.
So true.
You're talking about Arlovsky getting a title shot next? Yeah. How?
Let me tell you why, Bob. I'm going to tell you why. The reason is, again, the politics. But first of all, with Big Ben, the guy has a 91% finishing rate when he fights.
Yeah.
He's got a chin made of granite. This guy continues to come forward. He's one of the scariest heavyweights. He's been fighting pro since he's 17 years old. Now, Arlovsky, his career, he was retiring. So the fact that he came back and beat a couple guys and then Travis Brown, that's awesome. Incredible resurgence for him. Does that qualify him to be an elite heavyweight in the UFC? Definitely not. He's got more to go. I agree with you. I want to see a guy get in there like Rothwell and get a shot. If it's against Arlovsky to kind of put that to rest, amen. Let that happen. But don't put a guy out there that's put his whole life, he's done nothing but entertain since IFL days for the fans. And, Ben deserves that shot. He deserves the respect. And I agree with you, Bob. That's one of those things that does definitely. It's very frustrating, you know.
Yeah, it just pisses me off because like I always say, and I'm like a stickler for this. We're the people who pay this money so the UFC can put these venues on and pay these fighters. So it's coming from us. It's like a taxpayer that's paying the civil servants, the police, the fire department. If it wasn't for us paying our taxes, you wouldn't have them. If we weren't paying for these pay-per-views, you wouldn't have them. So my whole outlook on it is the bottom line. Miocic deserves the next title shot.
Yeah.
He's earned it. He's fought everybody on his way up. He's beaten everybody. He's the #1 contender. Let him fight Verdum. I don't want to see JDS again. The last few fights for JDS, he's gotten beat almost to death. I don't want to see that again. The only other logical fight is Rothwell and Arlovsky. Let's put this to rest, like you said. You know what? I understand they fought 8 years ago. Neither guy is the same. I would be willing to bet just about anything that the fight ends in a completely different fashion than the first. And I would be willing to bet Arlovsky would be left in a crumbled heap. And Rothwell would be raising the dark forces, and that's what would be crashing down on Arlovsky's.
What about this card, Bob? Everyone likes the heavyweights. What about we see Stipe, Verdum, Rothwell, Arlovsky, right? We get some of these big guys in there, and we put on a hell of a card. I know I'd pay for that. I'd love to watch those guys get in there and fight. And those that we're going to be doing that are going to be really big. We've got a guest. We've got one of our favorites of all time. He's a boxing Hall of Fame, 5-time world champ. I can't say his name yet. I know Bob knows him extremely well. I do too. I'm so looking forward to that. You know, Bob, I know you're gonna enjoy that one. Yeah, buddy. And listen, just so everyone knows, make sure that you tune in and check that one out. It's going to be great. All the boxing heads, man, get in there because we're dealing with a 5-time world champ boxer. So, hey, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, LUB-MMA. Hit that subscribe button. For my partner, Bob, for LUB-MMA, I'm Dan Cox, and this is your MMA Update.
Australia, thank you. LA's a beautiful place. I want to go to